and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. For some weeks now, the question of who has the rights to collect value-added tax as VAT has pitched the Rivers State government and, of course, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, against each other. It started with the ruling of a federal high court in Rivers State, which ruled in August that states and not the federal government should collect value-added tax and personal income tax in Rivers State. And without wasting time, of course, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and his Lagos State counterpart, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, both enacted a new VAT law which empowers them to collect VAT within their territory. Now, this is where the challenge is. Of the total revenue made from VAT in the country, Lagos State generates about 55%, followed by the FCT with 20%. Now, Rivers, on its own part, contributes 6%, but these contributions are not retained in the state. It is remitted to the Federation account through the FIRS before it is then shared among all states on a monthly basis. So we're faced with a situation where these other states, which contribute little or nothing, rely heavily on the monthly federal allocation to meet their financial commitments. But going by this judgment of the Rivers State High Court, both Lagos and Rivers States will now be able to keep the revenue to themselves and not share with others. Of course, the FIRS has said this will not work because collection of VAT at the state level will raise the issue of multiple taxation. Now, for the FIRS, it is better to have a single tax authority, and in a bid to override the Rivers State government, the agency has appealed the judgment of the High Court. Now, pending the determination of the FIRS appeal, the Court of Appeal has now ordered both Rivers and Lagos states to maintain status quo and refrain from taking any action to give effect to the judgment of the Rivers State High Court. It's now not actually Rivers, I think it's the Federal High Court in Rivers State. It's now left to the court now to decide whether this ends or whatever happens. Let's get someone now to shed more light on this for us, and now being joined on the program by Ivan Sufeli, who is a lawyer and has a specialty now in tax laws. Thank you very much for coming on the program, Evans, and thank you very much for your time. Yes. Let's start with the latest development, that ruling by the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
What's the implication?
Now, the implication of the ruling by the Court
Granting
of Appeal,
the stay.
Yeah, is to grant the stay of execution of the judgment of the High Court of Rivers State. So, what we have now is, that's the Federal High Court in Rivers State. What we have now is a situation where once a judgment is delivered and a party goes on appeal, usually
because appeal, we know the FIRS had actually sought the same stay at the Federal High Court level. The Federal High Court refused.
It refused it,
yes,
so
exactly.
They had to go to the Court of Appeal. That's the procedure of law, and now it is granted. What it means in law is that both parties must stay
action.
Yes, stay action on that.
So the way it is now, when it says status quo, so which means people can continue to pay to the FIRS pending the outcome of the judgment. They
should go back to the situation the way it was
before. Okay.
Before
now, good. Now help us to understand the issues here. What exactly, by your own understanding of the law, who actually should be collecting this tax? I mean, the VAT tax.
Yes, it needs explanation really.
Yes.
Because if you look at the second schedule of the 1999 Constitution, that item 58, 59.
As you people would always say, as amended.
Yes, as amended. You find out that the Constitution clearly stated what the federal government and National Assembly have powers to legislate on. Oh. And the two of which is stated there concerning tax, the stamp duty and the capital gain tax, which you have there, they are not consumption tax. So the thrust of that judgment of the Federal High Court in Rivers State is that the Constitution and the area of the Constitution that empowers the federal government to legislate on tax did not mention VAT or any consumption tax.
And all this while, it is the National Assembly that has actually been legislating on VAT tax.
Yeah, the National Assembly actually came up with the VAT Act.
Of course.
Okay.
The Finance Act.
Now, by the implication of that law, the Act is said to be legal because the Constitution that empowered the National Assembly to act in that regard did not mention the VAT. but it clearly stated the kind of tax that they can legislate upon. And in law, the express mention of one thing exclude the other. Okay. In the interpretation of statutes, when you have expressions that are clear and unambiguous, it is the duty of the judge to give it its ordinary and dictionary meaning, okay, interpretation. And in this case, capital gain tax and then stamp duties are clearly not consumption tax. So what you have now is a situation where the federal government is found to be acting outside the scope of the law. But if you look at it the other way around, okay, you also find out that, left to me, I would have suggested that the Constitution be amended to allow the federal government to continue collecting. The reason is this. If you look at the structure proper, Section 40, subsection 1 of the VAT Act clearly states how this revenue is shared. Okay, 15% for the federal government, yep, 50% for the states, 35% for the local governments. Okay.
55%. Okay, yeah, 50% for the states.
50 for the states.
Yeah, that's true.
Then there is a sub-sharing formula again, where 20% is shared based on derivation.
So
you understand?
States that contributes the more will,
yes. Okay. But when you look at the major problem we have is that we don't see ourselves as one. That's part of the problem we're having. Because you hear the arguments. Yeah. Why should it be that in the north, where they are not doing anything, they say don't drink beer. Yes. Now you drink beer here and they're collecting the funds. And the rest of you see that kind of argument, it tells you we are territorial in our thinking. We are not global, we are not national.
And the irony of this is that, just as I said somewhere, that you look at this issue very critically, it's really not about the North and South. Because
it's not about the North and South.
That southern states will also be affected by this. I mean, if you were to go by that argument,
they will be affected.
Seriously.
They will be affected. But you see, one of the argument canvas is, if you look at withholding tax, for example, upon which federal FIRS get 4%, okay? A governor that was contracting in states, a governor that is really working. Okay, the contractors, there's withholding tax.
Compare that to a governor who's not working.
But he ends up getting...
Yes, you could have these governors there everywhere.
But he ends up getting from the state or governors who are working effectively and the rest of it. But you are still going to have further problems if we agree, like the court have said. Because what the court is doing, the court is looking at the Constitution and the law, and is deciding who exactly, by law, should collect. The court is not looking at the multiple conflict
now,
when the states are allowed to collect.
Did the Constitution now specifically mention that states should collect VAT tax?
No, the Constitution did not even mention VAT. Okay? It did not even mention VAT. But the Constitution mentioned stamp duty, capital gain tax, and gave that to the exclusive list. Yeah. Okay? So once that is given to the exclusive list, what you have is that states can make law. What the state government is saying, the River State government is saying is that this is not in the capacity of the FRS.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that, yes, it is, yes, it's not there, as you have said, but is there where in the Constitution it is contained that it is the states, specifically, that the states should collect VAT?
No. What is there is that consumption tax is actually location driven. Okay? It is the residence of a particular state that these funds are collected from. You understand? And there's what they call the residency rule in taxation. Okay, which says that you pay tax to where you reside. Okay, that is what is a principle in taxation.
But specifically, the Constitution did not specifically mention that VAT should be collected by the states.
No, the Constitution didn't say that. But the Constitution did not say the federal government should legislate on it. So what the court now ruled is that you do not have the power to do that.
Because it's not mentioned.
Yes, but then the state House of Assembly have rights to make laws for the good governance of their states. Okay, so on that trust, they have that power to do that. Okay, but the truth is that you are going to have a lot of crises. Yes. Okay, input and output crisis will come.
Yes, exactly, because we had that input and output crisis is a very serious one.
Yes, it will come in because you buy goods from here, you pay tax, you take it to another state where you are selling. Okay, and then we are going to have double tax regime. Already, the River State have already created a double VAT tax regime because they are saying 6% is theirs. But the federal government is contending 7.5%.
Lagos State says 6%.
They want to make it attractive.
Yes.
That's what they are trying to do, so that they can buy sympathy. But I don't think they are looking at the larger implication, because when you look at Lagos State, for example, and other states, you have federal government establishment. If you go to the port, for example, or the airport, for example.
Now, the ports, is it owned by the states?
No, it's not owned by the state. It's owned by the federal government, but it's in the state.
Yeah.
Most of the people who will import goods and the rest of them reside in the state, which ordinarily will mean...
But that's actually... Isn't that debatable to say most of the people who import goods reside in the state?
I could say it's debatable, but when you also look at
because quite a number of those I know who actually import goods in this country are actually... Most of these goods don't actually end up in Lagos.
Yes, they are moved to other locations. But even at that, the Constitution already clearly fixed ports and port activity in the exclusive list. So it's clear.
Yeah, so which means the VAT from there then should go to the federal government or what?
The implication is that we're going to have two tax regime on VAT, which is confusion. Because then the federal government will now have its own, and then the state government will now have theirs. But they are going to find overlaps. Because if you purchase from a state and you go to another state, you have to deduct what you have purchased. If now there will be a difference in the whole thing. So I would have to. I think this whole problem is not even about tax and who is collecting and who is not collecting. It's
about the sharing formula.
Exactly. And the perceived social injustice.
Yes, I was just going to say that I think the whole debate that people are actually not talking about is the sharing formula, how it is shared. So if, for instance, 20% is taken from the pool as derivation, the argument should be, why not increase that 20% to probably a higher percentage on the basis of derivation?
Yes, so that the states that contribute more,
exactly, they get more. So it's a very funny situation, and but going forward, I know this case is in court and all of that. This is actually not the first time something related. To this would be coming up in the court, right?
Yeah, we had the VAT was introduced by Decree 102 in 1993, and as at that time, you know that in 1990 was a military administration. Okay, the military administration was a unitary formula. That law itself predates the Constitution. Now, the framers of the 1999 Constitution did not avert their minds to that, because if they had done that, they would have
as at then, they probably would not have been thinking of VAT.
Yeah, the
framers.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been thinking about VAT, but as 1993 was introduced, okay, so the framers in 1999 or 1998, because they started working on the 1999 Constitution from 97, 98. When they were talking about handing over to democracy. So that is where the problem would have been solved. I mean, get that VAT. You know why we're having, looking at that direction today is because what the VAT contributed to the economy.
Yes, exactly.
16.1% to the GDP.
To the GDP, yes.
Now, if you have that, and then because of the increase to 7.5% by the Finance Act 2020, it is now very attractive, and the states know that if they go after this, it's a huge sum. But if they also do that, and other states are not able to lay hold, it's going to be a big problem.
And I was going to say this. If we were to go by the arguments of this state, Lagos and Rivers too, and then we can also advance the arguments that then you should look at the local governments too, where, for instance, this VAT come from. Because let's face it, in Lagos, yes, Lagos may generate so much in terms of VAT, but the truth is that this VAT actually comes from specific local government areas. So it means this local government chairman too can actually make the argument to say, you know what, our local government, because, for instance, Apapa local government contributes the bulk of this VAT, then the bulk of whatever comes to Lagos should go to Apapa local government. They can make that argument.
They can, but you know why they won't? we don't have a strong local government system.
That's it. That's it.
You see why our Electoral Act is the major problem we're having. Very soon now, all of us will run to the court after 2023 election and be asking the court to do magic. Now, in most of these states where they have caretaker committees as local government chairman, can they confidently, even commissioners, cannot even confront the governor? You understand? So what you have is a big case, okay? Because actually they can make that advance that argument because you cannot compare Ikeja local government, for example, with Alimosho. Okay, whether in population,
Alimosho may have the biggest population. In terms of that, it generates revenue, nothing.
In revenue, you don't have it, and you know that some local governments are highly commercial. Some are highly residential. So those ones that are very commercial, they make more, they get more inflow. So if they canvass the argument to perhaps that the local government should make bylaws, come up with bylaws on administration, I think that will even develop us faster. Because in that way, way, the local government will be able to generate funds and then carry on projects.
That's true.
You know, accordingly.
But just as you said, which local government chairman would have that courage?
That is the issue.
To look at their governor in the face and say, this is what we want to do.
The one that the federal government, even the federal allocation, that the governors have long put in their pockets. Even after an executive order, the state governors have refused to do that. And then that one is ongoing, okay? So even when you look at the judiciary, funds belonging to even the judiciary, the governors,
sitting on it.
So that is why sometimes when the governors, like the governor of Rivers State and Lagos State, when I see them and hear them shout to at the federal government, you know, try to bully them using the law and everything, I just laugh because they have a lot of problems.
They're just
underneath.
as guilty as well.
Yes, they have a lot of problem underneath, and they are not really taking care of the state as they should do. I think at the end of the day, we don't know where the courts will teach to because this matter
we just have to wait and see how it goes. Thank you very much for coming on the program, Evans Ufeli. Thanks very much for your time, and thank you very much for enlightening us on this very controversial issue. Well, we'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back to continue the conversation with a tax expert. Stay with us, don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.